started while you were in Waterville with your children, and obviously you're a proud American but you're a proud Irish woman as well, and we saw you speaking very emotionally during the film there at that citizenship ceremony. Do you think being an immigrant has helped you at the UN, even around the cabinet table, that you can put forward that view of the other?
I think so. I mean, who knows, right? We're all a combination of stuff that just, takes form. So it's hard to do the kind of causal thing. But when I look at Obama, one of the things that was amazing to get to work with him for those years was, I'm sure unlike just about any president we've ever had, even the great ones like Roosevelt, but he would, in our Iran negotiations, he'd say, well, if I'm Rouhani, here's what I'm thinking. He did such a masterful job of putting himself in the shoes of other people, and he would do that with Congress as well. If I'm Mitch McConnell, sometimes, and that doesn't always buy you what you seek. You want to understand someone's worldview, their interests, their calculus, their cost benefit. And I think I had that at the UN. I did have the ability. Partly just through listening, but to try to understand how other countries saw the United States. And Obama gave me great license to meet people where they were. So for instance, if I went and met with the ambassador from Laos, I don't think there's been an American ambassador, or at least maybe Ambassador Rice, my predecessor with Obama, had this privilege also. But prior to our administration, the ability to just apologize, for the munitions that were still causing amputations and injury in Laos, and the ability when talking about Russia's outrages in Ukraine to acknowledge the war in Iraq, and not to pretend as though history just starts for the United States when some new leader takes office, as if we get, okay, and this is, we're really going to have to keep in mind after Trump, Lord knows. But, I think that just knowing, it's almost, ground testing your ideas or your prescriptions with your family, with people who live abroad, with your friends abroad. I also lived abroad in the former Yugoslavia. You kind of just know what passes muster, and it's just a weird tendency in government generally, but in big institutions of all kinds, to just talk at people rather than having the perspective that again you would have if you were them. And so whether that's because you're an immigrant or because you're a woman, people say these are gendered traits. I think is a huge asset in diplomacy. So even negotiate with my Russian counterpart, who I spent half my time in the film, condemning and so forth. But, in order to get, for instance, a mechanism set up at the UN that didn't exist to actually ascertain who used chemical weapons, or in order to get more humanitarian aid into people in Syria who were trapped in besieged areas, I had to put myself in my Russian counterpart's shoes. And I had to imagine what would it be like to have Vladimir Putin as my boss. And I had to imagine how, if I were Vitaly, how would I sell what I'm trying to do with Samantha in terms that would appeal to Putin. And so even though none of this is visible because the failure to help the Syrians is so much more dramatic than these modest successes, nonetheless we wouldn't have even been able to do what we did but for the ability to walk in each other's shoes. And certainly that's the measure of a good diplomat.
I think we got a sense of